Thanks for coming to watch this video. To follow up from our last video with the turn signal switch installation, we're going to go ahead and do a electroluminescent panel. These panels here, featured by and offered by Scott Drake Enterprises, these actually glow when you turn power onto them. They're really neat. They can go from a soft blue to a soft green. And also available from Scott Drake is some diffusers. They're little plastic covers that go in behind your instrument panel. I believe stock. They're mostly blue. You can get them in green, amber, red now through Scott Drake Mustang. So if you don't want to go this route, you can go the other route. But I guarantee you're going to like these. These are a great accessory. They're really easy to install. It requires a Phillips screwdriver, some wire cutters, and a 3/8 driver. We're going to start the process, and I'm going to walk you through it. See you over at the car. Alright, we're over here. We're going to get ready to take this instrument dash panel piece out of here. Well, everything's pretty loose from our last video when we did the installation on the turn signal, so I'm just going to pop these things off of here real quick. You got to remove the screws from the instrument bezel face. One of the things you're going to have is your speedometer cable back here, so you're going to have to get this out slightly and reach in here. You can get to it, loosen that up, sometimes by hand, sometimes not. I think it's a 3/4 or 11/16 inch wrench that'll do it. This one I've already disconnected previously. Anybody doing this? I'm going to mark these wires so you know where they go back to, unless you're a genius with wiring diagrams or just at remembering where things are. I also took a photo so I can reference that in case I run into any problems. So I'm going to disconnect this, get this out of here, and take it over to the bench, and we'll get started over there. See you over at the bench. Alright, we've got the instrument bezel and cluster over here at the bench. What we got to do is get this bezel off of here and get our gauges out of here, get them cleaned up, restored, and get these new electroluminescent panels in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start dismantling or disassembling the gauge cluster from the bezel. I've got my bezel free from the cluster. I'll remove the face, and we're going to get to work on these. I'll remove each gauge from its housing. Going to refresh these needles here on these gauges a bit, applying some paint. For the 66 model, the speedometer gauge requires a bit of modification. This tab here you don't want bent, so we're going to have to trim back the speedometer face here a little bit so this will sit down in there nice and flat. So I've marked it with a pen. Now I'm going to trim it out. Alright, I've got my speedometer gauge trimmed. My luminescent panel fits in there nicely. Now to secure this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these very small mini glue dots. This will give you a semi-permanent modification. These things stick really good. Sometimes they're almost impossible to get, but they do come off. This is what we're going to use to attach this. I think we're going to forego the glue route or anything else because I know this is effective and this will work. Do the same thing to the rest of the gauges, and we'll assemble it, put it back in the car. Reinstall the instrument gauges into the gauge housing. Alright, so I've got my gauges installed into the cluster assembly here, and I've removed one of these diffusers so I can route the wires through so I can plug them into the module now. This guy. Alright, I've got the gauge cluster and bezel assembled. As you can see, it looks really nice. It's going to look even better in the car when it's illuminated. What I'm going to do now is get my wires situated. I'm going to take a look at those so I don't have to figure that stuff out while I'm under the dash there. So I've kind of laid out my module and my switch so I can take a look and see which wires I'm going to connect. So I've mocked these up so I can see I've got 3 connectors here, and I've got an extension onto here and 2 connections here. That's about all I need to know to get comfortably into under the dash and get this piece installed. So we'll see you over at the car. We'll get this thing installed and buttoned up, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so I'm over here at the Mustang, and I've got to find a hot lead that's only active when the key's on. This way I don't have to worry about my luminescent panels draining my battery when I turn the key off. I definitely don't want it to hook it to a constant hot. So I've got my test light, and I think I've found a hot lead that's only on when the key's on. Right now it's not on. Turn this key on. And I've got a hot. So that's the one I'm going to tap into for the luminescent panels. There's a ground wire right nearby. I'm going to tap into that to ground it out. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Alright, I believe I've got this powered up, so I'm going, and I've hooked it up, so I'm going to turn on the keys and see if it works. There we go, electroluminescence working like a charm. Now that we know it's working, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, tighten up the wiring around the harness, and reinstall this thing. We'll see how it looks once it's installed. So I've had another successful installation. I've done the electroluminescent gauge panels, the turn signal switch, and I got to tell you, these 2 products by Scott Drake, they are excellent. These electroluminescent panels, you're going to love them. They look great. That Ford license turn signal fits in there perfectly. It went in pretty easily. But I got to tell you, there's a couple things I learned about the electroluminescent panels when I put them in. Rubber cement doesn't work, so don't bother using it. The glue dots I used, those things work perfectly, and it allows me to remove those panels, or anybody else, if they choose they want to keep them, move them to another car, or if a new owner acquires a car and wants to take them off, they can pop them off. I want to thank Scott Drake and especially Alan Glanville for allowing me the use of his car to produce another video for AverageJoeRestoration.com. Come on down here and take a look at these panels. You're really going to like them. They're really great. Blue. Really nice panels. Pretty cool, huh? These are a great addition to any Mustang. And when you don't have your luminescence on, you have white-faced gauges. Can't get any better than that. These are, again, are a great product. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope all the material and content in it was useful, and we'll see you next time.